Okay, that was weird. Okay,
I
got
tried it
it.
on my end, Bridget, and it let me do it.
Wow.
I think because
Okay,
you were on first, Kelly, so I think we're good.
maybe
Welcome,
so.
everybody.
Hi. So, welcome to the PRSA Midwest District Conference. I'm Bridget Cohn, Communications Chair of the PRSA Midwest District and President-elect of the Greater Kansas City chapter of PRSA. Few housekeeping items. Before we start each PRSA meeting, we are required to share the official antitrust statement for PRSA. Because it's a couple of paragraphs long, I ask you to read the statement on the PRSA Midwest District website. You can find that at prsamdc.org and open the district conference page. So today's session is being recorded and it's being presented as a Zoom meeting instead of a webinar because we're a small group and it's going to allow us to interact with each other a little bit better. So with that, I would like to introduce Kelly Drinkwine. She is our moderator host today. Kelly.
Thanks so much, Bridget. It's great to be here with everyone. I see people continue to grow. There's a beauty in small numbers because then we can have a lively discussion. But I think really what we're all here today, and first, I hope you'll join me in a cheers to this happy hour. And if you guys want to join on screen, we'd love to see you. If you're not able to, no problem. We'll just continue to look at ourselves. But really what we're here today to do is to get to know one another, network a bit, and also just talk through our experiences, hear more about your experiences as PRSA members and how we can really get the most out of our membership. Oh, yay. Hello. Hi, Sherry.
Hi.
Well, hello, welcome. Hi, Dorothy. And Karina, thank you for your message. I feel you've been there, done that. Understand the multitasking, so thanks for the chat. We will try to bring you some zen in your crazy evening here. So to start us off, what we'd love to do is just kind of hear a few journeys of our different experiences with PRSA and the steps we've taken to really maximize what we've gotten out of it. And for that, I'm going to turn this back over to Bridget because actually the concept for this happy hour was Bridget's. So would love to start with her. Go for it, Bridget.
Thanks, Kelly. Well, I am an extremely devoted and thankful and grateful PRSA member. When I graduated from college decades ago, public relations was a field, but it wasn't an actual degree at the university I went to. So I graduated with a journalism degree, but towards the end of my college, I knew that I wanted to go into public relations. So rewind a few years, when I moved out to Denver as a new professional trying to break into the public relations realm, I met a gentleman in a job interview who was very kind, and he mentored me through the process and introduced me to PRSA members. He took me to happy hours, to professional developments. I was his guest. I did not get the job, but it was the best experience that I could have ever had as a young professional, a new professional in a big city. And once I got my first public relations job at a nonprofit, I learned that we had a volunteer advisory committee of Denver PRSA members. And they were invaluable once again to me as a group to help me navigate the PR realm in Denver, especially media relations. And I will always be a member and grateful and thankful for all that they did for me. And if I can be even a fraction of the help to somebody else that's new or to a student, I want to be 1,000 times over. And so while I'm very active with the Kansas City chapter, again, I love meeting the students. We had our student summit last Friday, and I want to be so encouraging to them and for them and help them in any way that I can. And I'm still learning and I'm still getting a lot out of PRSA. I am working towards my APR. So I could talk for hours, but
No, I think
I'm boring.
No, you're not, Bridget. You're anything but boring. You're loyal and you're a hard worker, and you've done so much for this organization, and we deeply, deeply appreciate it. As we think about your story and just the importance of building your network and the doors that PRSA can open for you at really every stage of your career, I find that to be really just the most compelling value proposition. I know some employers can challenge the expense, which seems, especially as we get older in our careers, it seems really reasonable. But when you're starting out and you're seeing that number, it can be a little daunting at times. And just knowing that you're investing in yourself, if you do need to, foot the bill yourself, which I certainly have on occasion, when I didn't have an employer that would support it. But I will say real quick, because I won't give you my career background, but just my journey sort of to PRSA. I came from media, which I know many public relations professionals these days kind of migrated in that way. But I studied media communications with a minor in journalism. I had every intention of being the next co-anchor of SportsCenter, and ended up not having the guts to put myself out there for that, in front of the camera role, and spent years behind the camera in production, which I loved. And we, through the journey of career and whatnot, I ended up leaving the media side and trying to figure out what my next path would be. And I've jumped around. I've probably had almost every role that you can in some sort of marketing, communications, PR function. I still, to this day, I need to remind my agency that actually what we do is public relations, because they're quick. No, Kelly, we're primarily internal communications. I'm like, that is public relations, by the way. So it's funny how we define it and how we all find our ways to one another. But when I moved to Chicago, I was really looking to make the city a little more accessible and shrink my world a little bit. And the first organization I got involved with was Publicity Club of Chicago, which is pretty insular. At the time, it was the largest private, non-association public relations membership organization in the country. I don't know if it still holds that title, but it was a fantastic stepping stone. But it lacked the reach, of something like PRSA. And with the advances that we're seeing with the online communities, and if you're on camera or if you're able to use the raise your hand function in Zoom, I'm curious as to how many people are taking advantage of my PRSA and those online communities. Let's see, Bridget. Yeah. Okay, so a little mixed bag. Great. I know I find myself going through some droughts where I haven't, and then I take the step. I'm like, oh my gosh, why don't I come here every day? Because I constantly learn something. So anyway, back to Publicity Club of Chicago. At the time, my boss was, we were considering like what we were going to support for our agency team as far as professional development, and looking at the options between PCC, between PRSA Chicago. I'm based here in Chicago. And we decided that, it's time to invest in PRSA. And at the time, the perception was this is really an organization that's better when you're earlier in your career, get you started, you learn from, the professionals ahead of you. There's just great education built in, especially if you're in a smaller agency where maybe some of that professional development isn't inherently built in from a learning and development program. And, our eyes were open to the fact that, wait, we're misunderstanding really the opportunities here. And the further we both dove in, she ultimately became our chapter president. I followed her a few years later. We both, served in multiple capacities for our chapter role. I then went on to serve the Midwest District as chair-elect and chair and past chair as the progression goes. But it's been so incredibly rewarding to share stories, to share challenges and just get fresh perspectives. And even if it's something where you're in-house or your agency or you don't think maybe that, well, their day-to-day might look different than mine, and just asking for help, asking for insight, learning maybe not to focus so much on this metric when actually this is the emerging metric you should be counseling your clients to pay attention to. Just those types of insights. It's the values just continue to grow for me. So that was my abridged version, if you can believe it. I would now like to invite Miss Eva. Yes, please. And I'm going to go on mute.
Okay, so I'm Eva Kaiser. Hello. And I've been a member of PRSA since 1993, I think. Long timer. My number's really low when you look at it. But for me, I joined an agency here in the Twin Cities, and they strongly encouraged me to become a member. And I'm like, why, But what it gave me the opportunity to do was to build my leadership skills, because I could own projects and do recommendations and present to a board, all the things that a menial AAE and agency doesn't get to do. I also was very focused on business to business and media relations and writing articles. And what it gave me a chance to do was my first committee was the publicity committee, which they had back then. And I got to write news releases and talk to local media. And my clients weren't local because I didn't know any of the local media. This gave me a chance to meet the local media. And then I moved over to be editor of the newsletter. And this is going to date me, but it was back when it was print and monthly. So I got to manage a newsletter and do the timetables and the editorial calendar. And it gave me skills that I wasn't going to learn in my job because that wasn't part of my job description. But it also gave me a chance to go and have a reason to talk to leaders in our community. I got to call agency heads and introduce myself and say, can I do an interview with you? It gave me a chance to meet people because I'm an introvert, if you can only tell that, but it gave me a reason to reach out and meet people. And I wasn't reaching out to get a job. I was reaching out to build my network. And that's what it fundamentally gave me the ability to do, is grow my network. And then I became co-chair of the communications committee. And then I took a little break, and then I came back and I helped them develop a mentorship program. And then I got on the board, and all the time I was meeting people that became contacts on my network. Because when I was in an agency, the only people I knew were in the agency. I didn't get able to grow my network outside. And it wasn't about getting new business, it was about building my network. So then when I went on my own 15 years ago, I had this network of people I can reach out to, who I've built rapport with. Also, I've gone, when I was president of my chapter, I got to go meet Kelly, and we were in Boston, I think. That's how I met Kelly. Now, if I ever needed something in Chicago, I could just look up Kelly and say, Kelly, what do you think about this? It's almost like a built-in network. And when I was doing work for some clients, I had to find like contacts in local communities. I just go through and see who was an APR in that town. And I'd say, hey, I'm an APR, could you help me out? And it gave me that network. But locally, it really gave me the chance to do things I didn't know. I wasn't going to learn how to do other things, build my leadership abilities, and also create a network that's been able to help me throughout. Like right now, I could, if I needed tickets to a game, a sports game, I could probably find somebody who could help me get tickets. Or if I needed a speaker for my class I teach at the University of Minnesota, I got this plethora of people I could pull in, or they know somebody, A good example of this is for my network is I have a former student from last year who's writing a graduate, a senior thesis on interviewing people from PR in the media who switched from the media over to PR. It was perfect for you, Kelly. I should have sent it to you. Anyway, he's like, do you know anybody I can reach out to? And so I just started going through my Rolodex, but going through my contacts in LinkedIn and saying, hey, this person would be great. This person would be great. And the outreach of support that came from the student was amazing. And that's all because of PRSA. It's not because I'm like networking at my kid's soccer game. It's because of through PRSA, I met all these people. So what I encourage everyone to do is just volunteer for one little project with your chapter, and you'll get into this network that's going to help you throughout your career. One last story. A colleague of mine, she was president of Minnesota PRSA before I was, so probably in the 2000s, and she was on the national board of PRSA as well at one time. A very young person named Gail Van Cleef now. Anyway, she lost her job at an agency, and within a week, her network had helped her through PRSA get enough job interviews that she got a job within 2 weeks. I mean, and she's like, well, my network worked for me. She had all these people she met through PRSA who she worked with or connected with that got her a job within 2 weeks, which is amazing. And so I always think about that story as one of the reasons why you tap into PRSA. Everyone's story is a little different. And I think what we promised for this session was really talk about how you use PRSA to build your network. That's how I did it.
Yeah, and Eva, just to build on one of the other perks before we get back to the network around just the ability or the doors that PRSA can open for you to do things that you don't normally maybe have an opportunity to do in your day-to-day role. I am vice president of communication strategy for a boutique agency here in Chicago called Kindle Communications. And I am constantly counseling C-suite leaders around their content, their messaging, their delivery. So I'm right up there on stage with them, do this, not that, try to emphasize this, not that. But it's not very often that I'm the one at the microphone practicing what I preach. So it is, that's one of the gifts I feel like PRSA gives us, is also giving us that podium, that stage to, test our own advice really, and share our knowledge, share our experience, do what I say, not what I do, all those good things. So I come back to my PRSA communities. I know that's something that, our membership staffers over at PRSA are big fans of. They've doubled down on the investment of the technology and all that good stuff. So that is a really important piece. Taking that first step, like Eva was saying, to just volunteer for a committee, a local committee, or maybe it's a committee within a section that you're involved with. And actually, if you could put into chat, or maybe it's a small enough group that we could just hear from each of you as far as what type of member you are with PRSA. Because there are a couple different avenues that we come to PRSA through. Maybe I'll pause there. If you don't mind, we would love for this to be more interactive if we can. Sherry, may I put you on the spot? Could you share with us your experience?
Sure. When I was in college, I was very active with PRSA, and then early in my career, and then I just moved away from it. And for the last decade, I've attended meetings here and there, but I recently joined as a new member in July. So looking to get a little more active. Yeah, thanks. And just wanted to meet more people in my community. I'm in more of a public role, I guess, with a more well-known organization in the community. So I thought it would be helpful.
That's great. How have your first few months been? Obviously, it's different times to join in, being COVID, still and whatnot.
Right, joining in the summer, there hasn't really been anything going on yet. So I'm hoping for a meeting next month or in early next year, where I can meet people.
Great. Well, hey, you've got lots of folks right here, and I'm sure all of us are excited to connect with you and continue the discussion. So welcome. Happy to have you as a member. Yeah. Hey, Dan, I see you joined. Yes. Hello.
I'm actually in my car. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so sorry, this has been great. I love listening. I'm going to run in and grab my grandson now, take him to Ninja Warriors. So I can't really talk a lot. I'm a longtime practitioner in public relations, probably 30 plus years, a newer member to PRSA. I actually was one many years ago when I was new in the business, and recently rejoined, and just wanted to say I've been on pretty much every meeting this week during the Midwest Conference, and I'm making lots of great connections, but I'm learning wonderful things. And I only wish that I could be at home with a glass of wine. So I envy you. And thank you guys for hosting this. I'm going to listen.
Okay. Thank you, Dan. I think I've seen Dan on every one of the calls that I've been on, so it's good to see his name a lot.
That's awesome. That's great. Dorothy, would you like to share your membership journey so far, and how networking is working for you within PRSA?
Well, I can't share a member. Full disclosure is that I'm not a member yet. I would love to join. However, I am a solo practitioner and am essentially part-time solo right now. So the cost is not insignificant. But I'm thinking about it, and I'm actually wondering, well, maybe I don't know if there are ever scholarships or price breaks for people that are like solo practitioners, but that would be very helppful. If there isn't one, I would.
Well, I'm a solo as well, Dorothy.
Yeah.
And that price tag was kind of on me as well. There's price breaks for students. They only have price breaks for adults, or let's see, senior practitioners, we'll say. But I know that I personally do the quarterly payment plan, which makes it a little easier for me to swallow than the full price at the end.
Okay.
I know that there's lots of, if you lose your job, I know that the Minnesota chapter helps you like come to events and stuff. That was a few years ago when I was president. But I think from a membership perspective, the quarterly payment plan has always been very helpful for me.
Okay, that's good to know. I'll look at that. It's not that I don't think it's worth it. I've been a volunteer for various things my whole life. I'm currently president of a parent teacher organization at my kids' schools. I like volunteering and nonprofit, and I have a nonprofit background and membership background. I mean, I get all of it. So it's not like I know that you get out of it what you put into it, all those things. But it is like, oh yeah, $300. I mean, I'm really like just starting out. And so I don't have a lot of clients, you know.
I know
on
that.
the other hand, of course, you have to invest in yourself in order to like network and get clients to make money. So
when I first put out on my own, I was not sure about being able to cover that because I first started out. But because I had my APR, I didn't want to lose it. So that was an incentive for me to stay with it. Okay, they hook you in with that APR and you're stuck there for life. I pay for it. Pay the yearly dues on it. But I definitely look into the quarterly plan. That's been helpful for me.
There are promotions from time to time too, that really help, whether it's if you're a new member and you join now, then you can get a free chapter membership, or you can get, and that's usually, I mean, it varies depending on chapter fees, but that can easily be, $75 right there.
Right.
And I was just looking online to see if there were any current promotions, and I'm not seeing any immediately, but I'll keep digging into that for you, Dorothy, too.
Thank you. That's so kind.
Absolutely.
I did look the other day, like not for promotions, but I was again looking because I went to the session on APR and I was digging around in that again. And I would like to get my APR certification. So that's sort of on the horizon and thinking about that. And then of course can't get it if you aren't a member. So I am, like I said, I'm a solo practitioner and have a nonprofit background, and I'm living in St. Louis Park right now. I'm originally from Minneapolis and also lived in LA for 10 years and worked at a museum there, which was wonderful. And then moved back here and have been a stay-at-home mom for a long time, and then got a part-time what started me on a journey to what is now my LLC was that I got a part-time copy editing, document management kind of job for an executive coaching company in Minneapolis called Navigate Forward.
Mhm.
And they are wonderful, lovely clients. They are all like really lovely people. And I have enjoyed that work a lot. So then I was like, gosh, I feel like I should just become an LLC. And I guess now I'm going to try and do this solo thing because I had been looking at full-time jobs and thinking about lots of things. And I think at this point, like having been home and managed my own schedule and stuff, it would be very hard to think about going back to a full-time career. And now, of course, that even means something different, right? Because I feel like
I
there
was
is
just about to
growing
say that,
flexibility
yeah.
now. That is
Mhm.
really the gift. I hope that it stays. Like the bright side of COVID is that hopefully we have all learned that we all need flexibility. I mean, especially parents, but flexibility in where and when you work is so crucial. So maybe it doesn't feel so daunting now, maybe to get a full-time job, but in any case, this is
Well, if you're
this
thinking
is
about
where I
going,
am.
if you're thinking about going solo, we have a happy hour tomorrow about just that topic, going solo.
Yep, it's on my radar. I've been
Okay.
to all
And
the happy
JW's,
hour ones.
you'll enjoy JW tremendously.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Dorothy, did you say you're in St. Louis?
St. Louis Park in
So-
outside first ring suburb of Minneapolis.
Okay.
Close, almost. Apparently they added the park at one point because they were too close to be like they got confused with the city of Minneapolis. So then they added the word park.
Okay.
Well, very nice to meet you.
Yeah,
And
nice
if there's
to meet
anything
you.
we can do, as you navigate, and again, we'll keep our eyes open.
Yeah, thank
Um,
you.
You bet. Karina, I know you're messaging where you can, oh, hello. Oh, I see a hand.
I see a baby.
guest
Oh,
star.
yay.
Yeah, let's see. I can take off the background.
Hello.
Hello, this is Owen.
Hi.
Oh, the other one here is commotion, so he's gonna come say hi too.
Absolutely.
Hello.
Hello. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, so I was in PRSA shortly after graduating college, and then I left for a while, and then I came back. But I was a member of the student relations committee for a while, which was really cool. It was fun to put together events for students. Why don't you go watch the movie? And I actually got my first PR agency job largely thanks to PRSA because I met Paul Maccabee at an event, and then a few years later applied for a job and was able to say that I met. Okay, they just want to be able to see. And now that I'm a solo practitioner, I almost feel like I have more opportunity to participate with my membership because I don't feel like I need to, balance it out. I can kind of make my own priorities there. And I'm also a member of the Independent Practitioners Alliance now that I'm solo. And that's been really great to be able to meet with other indies around the country and talk about some of the stuff that's going on and kind of get people's advice, people who have been doing it a lot longer than I have.
Karina, can you say a little bit more about that group? Because I think you were on the same session like a couple days ago
Yep, the career copy, and I
linked
actually
it.
mentioned it in there.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then I was curious how much extra it is on the membership because it does not say anywhere on the PRSA website.
Yeah, I want to say that it's like $65 extra for the year.
I think it's 65, 50 or 60.
And they had a session that was it was a webinar about going independent that was similar probably to what the happy hour is going to be. And at the end of that, they had a discount. So when I first joined, I got a discount for that.
Nice.
So I think it was but I have found it really helpful. I'm gonna mute now so you don't have to hear the voice.
Thank you
love
for
it.
joining us. Yeah,
I love
it's very nice to meet your boys.
It's also something I feel like we've all learned over the past year that like we're all at home, like there's kids and dogs and
oh yeah.
everybody's got stuff in the background.
While I was on mute, my dog was going crazy because dinner was being delivered for this evening. So yeah, life. Catherine, may I ask for you to share your story as a member and
Sure.
what your journey has been like with networking?
Yeah, so unfortunately, I'm still here at the office. No
Oh, sorry
yet,
about
but
that.
hopefully when I get home. Yeah, so I actually was a journalist for about 13 years in television before I transitioned to PR a few years ago. And so I worked on sort of the eastern half of the United States, and then my husband and I moved to Chicago, which is where I am now. And I got a job with a small agency in the West Loop. And so I'm the director of media services there, primarily working.
You have to tell me where you are, Catherine. I'm in a small agency in the West Loop.
Yeah, I'm at Wilkes Communications Group. I don't know if you've heard of us.
I have heard of you. Yes. And I'm
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt you. I'm just so excited that I just met a new neighbor. So there you go.
No, it's all good. So I came here, didn't know anybody in PR. I didn't really know what PR was. And so I immediately joined PRSA to connect with people, and went to the summer mixer in 2019, shortly before the world ended. Met a few great people. And so I was able to connect actually this past year with the programming committee and helped out with some of the planning for 2021. And I think it's been a great way to, it's almost like coming out of college, right? And starting a job, except I don't have that similar background of college. So it's been a really interesting tool to meet people and connect. And thank you so much for hosting this.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, thanks, Catherine. Yeah, I served PRSA Chicago for, gosh, I'm trying to remember. It was probably like somewhere like 8 or 10 years. It's very strange to me still that I'm not somehow associated with the board. I feel like I'm missing a piece of myself. So I think it might be time for me to come back and do another tour, because I miss all those folks and I miss the interactions. And yeah, whether you're changing jobs or if you've just moved, just those inroads. And, as Eva was discussing, I was in the same boat when I was working more in the media relations side. All my clients were more national or international, so I never had a chance to interact with local media. And that was such a great opportunity, when we're working on the local programming and looking for speakers for our events. And it just helps you make those important contacts. It's great. So welcome to Chicago, and
Thank you.
look forward to meet you in person.
Yeah, I look forward to the non-COVID Chicago experience.
Yes, indeed. All right, Drew, you knew you weren't going to get off the hook here. Our illustrious chair of the Midwest District.
I wasn't trying to get off the hook. I'm just not fast enough with the unmute button.
So Drew and I go back several years in our service on the Midwest District Board, and he is current chair, and I'm going to go on mute and take it away, Drew. Tell us about your networking experience.
Okay. So I joined PRSA probably within a couple of weeks of moving back to St. Louis and jumping out of journalism to get into PR. It's definitely helped me with some good connections over the years, looking for jobs. Most recently, John Bull put in some good words for me, getting into Edward Jones, although ironically to move into a data-driven position. But that brings me to a more recent story that shows the value of getting more involved with PRSA and being on the boards. And my leader recently scheduled some time to have a "what do you want to be when you grow up" discussion, to talk about what my next steps are. Because Edward Jones, they sort of expect to promote you or have you shift to another department about every 1.5 to 2 years. And she said, well, you can either go into a more sort of individual contributor, maybe technical kind of track, or there's sort of a leadership track. And what leadership experience do you have? And I talked about all the things that I've done with bylaw amendments and time as president of the St. Louis chapter and chair of the Midwest District, things I've done with Leadership Assembly. And she said, "Wait, I didn't realize you had all that. Then I think we should look a little more toward the leadership track. And I'll let the rest of the leaders on the team know that that's the direction we want you to head." And if I didn't have that experience, I wouldn't have had an opportunity to have those experiences, to put that on my resume through anything else that I've done in my career except PRSA.
That's awesome. And what's great too is the more you get to know people in different chapters, different areas, and as your network within PRSA grows and as time moves on and people shift into different roles, it opens up that many more opportunities. I found myself, because I'd expressed interest in how PRSA manages its membership when I was on the chapter side, and realized, hey, for these recurring members, it feels like, we never get the benefit of any promotions. What sort of carrot can we throw to the members that have been really loyal to PRSA? And I love the promotions we're doing for students and for new members and all that. So I'd raise that with National, just to, explore the opportunity. What can we do to help serve our members that much more? And next thing I knew, I found myself on the National Membership Committee because I'd opened my mouth. But it was a wonderful opportunity, and that's what happens. Careful when you raise your hand, Kelly. But I didn't think I don't typically work with colleagues in Hawaii and all over the country on things like that. So it's really cool to open yourself up to new experiences. And Dorothy, as you said, nothing can really explain the opportunities with networking within PRSA more so than you get out of what you put into it. And that goes for your individual benefit as well as how you pay it forward for others. And I've seen that come back in spades, and I just can't say enough of it. So I do want to give one more plug for the My PRSA communities, not only to participate, but if you haven't, take a couple minutes for those that are members and look at your profile and make sure that all of your profile information is updated, because they redid the site in the last, 12 months, maybe 12 to 18 months. There's little refreshers here and there, but you want to make sure that you're as searchable as possible, and that you're tagged in your interests so that you can match up with other members in the right way and find those new opportunities. So if you haven't, please take a look at your profile, log in, and if you have any questions, we're happy to help you with that.
Kelly, I'm
Yes.
going to put a link to something in the chat. It's on the PRSA website. It's a program that they started during the pandemic called In Between Jobs. And it's a way that people who were maybe laid off or in between jobs due to the pandemic, or are transitioning to an independent practitioner role, to get a pretty deep discount on joining PRSA. And it says it started 7 months ago, but it's still on the PRSA website. So some of you might want to check into it, because it includes waiving the application fee, and I think it's set up to a 50% discount. Receive 1 full year of PRSA professional membership at a 50% discount, saving you $130 on the regular rate of $260. They'll waive reinstatement fees for returning members. Receive a complimentary 1-year membership in the Independent Practitioners Alliance, IPA. So, and it gives a code in between, if anybody wants to try and join now and see if it works.
Awesome. Nice stealth work there, Bridget. Appreciate the.
That is really helpful. I'm looking at it right now. However, I'm curious, I don't know that I would technically call myself in between jobs. I got laid off from a job 10 years ago, but that doesn't count anymore. And now I'm a solo. I guess I lost a client recently, so maybe I could plead that in between clients. Or any thoughts, any advice? Just go for it anyway.
I would try it. Yeah, I would
would,
definitely.
yeah. It feels like you're a strong candidate there, Dorothy.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. And I appreciate your integrity and ethics with asking. That's another. Actually, that is, as a member, ethics is something that I think PRSA does a really great job of. demonstrating and touting and having important conversations around, especially if that's something that, you're trying to help navigate with a client or in your own organization. If you have any concerns, there's some wonderful resources there. You just reminded me of that. So I thought I would just make you aware. It's one of my kind of pet projects at PRSA, because unfortunately we, hear more about the unethical behavior than we do the ethical behavior, because that's just how media tends to work. Are there any questions, or have you guys encountered any challenges? Whether, Sherry, as a new member, what have you been happy with as far as a response? Where have you felt welcomed? Is there anything that we can do to help you open doors until you do have more of those physical in-person experiences? Or anybody else? I don't mean to just put Sherry on the spot there.
No, I was really surprised that there haven't been any events. I think maybe there was a social, like a happy hour in August, but that's all that's been on the calendar. So I'm not sure if there's a transition with the leadership, but I do know the president, and he encouraged me to participate in the next meeting. I just don't know what it is yet. I think they're still trying to plan it, but it's early. So I'm sure as 2022 comes along, I'll get more in the swing of it, and so will they.
Well, that's great to hear. And it does, there does sometimes come those lags, and especially in these times, and kind of pivoting between, wait, should we still be hybrid? Should we just be virtual? Should we go full on and be in person? And,
Right. The president actually asked me if I wanted to host the December meeting. It just didn't work out. So I think he's looking for a new person, right?
Yeah. And sometimes, chapters, it's pretty cyclical. I feel like, I know some years in Chicago, we were really struggling to get people to step up for our board positions, whereas other years it's becomes pretty competitive for those spots. So, it just depends how things ebb and flow in life and in work and all that. But yeah, any other thoughts, ruminations, challenges, opportunities, ideas we haven't maybe broached yet that you'd like to ask about or share from your experience?
No, I thought it was interesting to see all the moms working from home and stuff. And that's something that I did too when my kids were younger. And that's something I loved about public relations and the skills we have. It just made it so easy to work from home, do contract work, freelance writing, things like that. So it's really neat to see other women doing the same thing. And then I got back full time about 12 years ago. So that was quite a transition, but as my kids got older, it worked out quite well.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. And it is such a gift in its autonomy, typically, because our work tends to be, even if we are collaborating with others, it's, then you go away and you write, or you go away and you write a strategy or a plan, or, whatever the case may be. Yeah, it's the flexibility has been wonderful. I agree, as a fellow mom. Dan, I know you're juggling American Ninja Warrior here. Is there anything, as you've been, re-entering PRSA, or, longtime practitioner, but kind of newer to PRSA, how have you felt about the networking opportunities that you've had so far? And if you can't answer, don't worry about it, because I know how that is.
No, I just heard you, and so I pulled over and stopped. I'm in the car.
Oh no, I didn't mean
and my little, you can't see him back there, but my little grandson's back there. Say hi, Franklin.
Hi.
Hello, Franklin.
So Franklin is 6, and we're almost to Ninja Warriors, and he's going to be the next PRSA member, hopefully in, I don't know, 12, 15 years or something. It's been a great conversation. I love hearing it. I wish I could have been more engaged. My apologies, but I've been driving. But in the last year, I think they've only done 1 or 2 in-person events. I've gone to those, which was really good. Matter of fact, Karina, I think that's where I first met you, if I remember right.
Yep, that's right.
Yep. And And then there's been some online stuff. So I've been trying to get engaged that way. I look forward to next year, hopefully with some more in person.
And have you, Dan, had an opportunity to check out that the forum online and participate in any of those conversations?
You know, I haven't, but I'm glad you guys talked about it. He's back there trying to say hi again. No, but that's good to hear. I'm going to check that out and try to figure that out. And one of the cool things about all of this too is like you guys connecting that you're both in the same area of Chicago. This is cool, right?
Right.
So this is good stuff. Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very exciting.
Well, for those of you who want a in-person event, a little birdie told me that Minneapolis is going to host a in-person district conference next year. Not sure
Awesome.
when, but it's probably going to be September when it's nice in Minnesota. Since you know it's nice, Dan, it's September. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's what the plan is that we're working towards for next year.
I would just offer if there's some way that the mall can be involved, please reach
Oh,
out
yeah.
to me. I would love to help you guys.
Maybe we have an event out there or something.
Yeah, I'd love that. I have to log off now, but
Okay.
thank you for letting me
Thank
join
you.
everybody.
Thanks so much, Dan.
Have fun
nice
at
to meet
Ninja
you.
Warrior.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Franklin.
Bye.
So when Dan mentions the mall, he's actually the head of communications for Mall of America.
That's a huge job right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a venue. Woo.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right. I've always wanted to go there. I've never been.
Well, when
I've
you
heard
come up
it's
for the
quite-
Midwest District Conference, I'll take you there.
All
And Dan
right.
can give you an inside scoop behind the scenes of what's happening probably.
I'm in. All
I'm gonna
right.
have to come up for an
in
extended
too.
time because I've got college roommates in the cities. So I will probably make a week of it.
Yes.
There you go.
I'm sure he would do a full tour. I went and got coffee with him recently, and although I've been to the mall a zillion times, I hadn't been in the Nickelodeon universe since it was Camp Snoopy. So he had me walk through there because he's like, well, that was just too long ago. You need to go through there.
Yeah.
So he's a very, very gracious host.
Oh, that's great.
I had a former colleague of mine who worked for him, and she managed the social media for the Mall of America. And she took me down to see this big like war room, kind of like we see on the military. It was like that, but for social media at the Mall of America. So they could track when people are complaining about anything that was going wrong in any place. They'd be able to send hot teams out there to fix it. Where parking was bad, where parking wasn't. It's a really sophisticated kind
Oh.
of network they have set up.
Amazing.
As a data and analytics geek, I am all over. I find that so interesting.
That
I
would be a cool tour.
right. Yeah,
Especially with the holidays coming up. I mean, that was a big thing for them.
for sure.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
I have to chime in that one of the best things at the Mall of America right now is that you can get vaccinated in one of the empty stores. And I took my kids recently, like the weekend that like vaccines were approved, we went to the Mall of America and got vaccinated. And he probably had nothing to do with like the setup of it, but it was amazing. Like I got mine there in March, but I went in with my kids and there were like balloons and it was rainbow colored and there were stickers and like, it was so kid friendly. It was just really well done. I should tell him
Great
that. I'll
idea.
connect with Dan and tell him that it was like, that it was a really good experience. On the other hand, their booster is the weekend after Thanksgiving. So that was sort of poor planning on my part because I'm not dying to go to the Mall of America
No.
on Black Friday or Saturday.
Oh, yeah, that sounds like a bad idea.
I know it's terrible, but what can you do? Like you have to go back. So
It's probably good planning by the mall's part. Make you come back.
Yep,
I suppose.
indeed.
Hmm.
All right. Are there any additional questions or comments? It's been so wonderful to get to know each of you, and thanks again to Eva and to Bridget for inviting me, and it's been really a pleasure. I've missed the Midwest District folks, and it's so great to see you on screen.
Yes.
So there was a question in the chat about Minnesota. I don't know. I think they're doing a virtual holiday. It's a holiday / annual meeting. I think it's going to be virtual. But I know they're thinking about more in-person starting maybe March, April. That's what I think they're thinking. When I stepped into a meeting last week, that's what they're looking at doing.
That's
So
what
we'll-
Kansas City's doing.
But we'll be doing our career coffees in Minnesota virtually through the summer.
I will say, well, I know my new Chicago colleague dropped off, but we are doing our holiday party in person this year. So, it's a little, we're edgy over here. Unfortunately, I'm going to be traveling for work, so I won't be able to go, but I do. Yeah, I'm with you, Karina. I love those career coffees. I remember when I first learned about those. They're so smart. And I think every chapter should replicate,
Well, I'm going to drop off now because I went past when I needed to drop off because it's
Yes,
such
I
engaging
know.
conversation. But now I need to drop off and do what I got to do for other stuff. But it was nice meeting all of you. Connect with me on LinkedIn. It's just Eva Kaiser on LinkedIn. But yeah, have a great rest of the week.
Thanks, Eva.
Thank you. Bye.
Yes. Bye, Eva. Thanks. And if anyone wants to stay on and chat, we're happy to do so. If everybody's ready to get on with their evening, totally understand that as well. And really appreciate everybody attending today.
Dan is back.
And Franklin, I reckon. Yes. All right. All right.
Yeah, I think Kansas City, in part because of the holidays, and we're finding that people are on either a lot of extreme ends. They're not ready to get out yet, or they're just wanting to get out. And so I think we're going to start off with some smaller group, maybe coffees or happy hours after the first of the year, and just, dip our toe in a little bit. I think we'll keep some sort of permanent virtual option, at least quarterly throughout the year. But I think most people are wanting to get together, but maybe in some smaller groups.
We're grappling with that shift with so many of our clients right now, who are typically hosting or preparing for major sales meetings and getting everybody aligned. And, here they've missed last year's cycle and everybody was ready to gung ho. And, some companies are embracing the vaccine mandate, others are not. And there's, strong arguments on every side. I'm not making this a political conversation at all, I promise you. But it's really interesting to be a part of those conversations and help them think through the solutions too, because if everyone is in the room, if everybody is, for those clients where they are requiring vaccination, they're still being very mindful of, hey, let's make sure we're spacing the seating. It's not just like, let's rip off the Band-Aid and everybody go to Mardi Gras.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, I feel like people are being thoughtful, and we're humans, we're gonna have some missteps in, our navigation here, but as long as decisions are made for the right reasons, I can get behind that. So
yeah, same.
Yeah. I don't think I said where I'm from. I'm from Madison, Wisconsin. And we still have our mask mandate in Dane County, where I'm at.
We still do here in Cook County as well.
Yeah. It makes you feel a little more comfortable going out and about.
Well, in this time of year, honestly, like, I don't mind it so much. It keeps me warmer.
Right. It's like wearing a scarf.
It's like wearing a scarf. I'm used to it. It doesn't. Yeah.
I agree completely. I'm a ski instructor at a little ski hill here in St. Louis. We're part of Vail. The Vail has the mask mandate. Did last year too, and we were all noting that we all would have worn masks anyway because it keeps our face warm.
Yeah, just makes sense. Well, and I don't think I'll ever travel again without a mask. I'm like, why? I might as well. I mean, the Asian cultures have been ahead of us in that, and it, always seemed like such a novelty to see, and now it's like, no, that feels like common sense.
Yeah, it cut down on the rates of flu, I think, last year too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my mom said she doesn't think she'll ever go to a grocery store without a mask on again because she went all of last year without being sick, and it takes her a while to heal from that stuff. So
right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Well, my friends, what do you
It's
think?
good to see you,
Should we call
Kelly.
it? So good to
Yeah.
see you too, Bridget. Sherry,
Yes.
such a pleasure to meet you.
Yes, Sherry,
and
nice to meet you.
And
Thank
hey,
you.
Chicago's not far, you
Right,
know?
what's your last name, Kelly? Is it really Drinkwine?
It is, yes.
Okay. You
Yeah.
were drinking wine, so I thought that was kind of funny.
Well, you know, I try to promote the family.
Right. I was gonna say my daughter, Megan Gasper, does PR in Chicago. So
Oh,
maybe
really?
they'll cross paths someday. Yeah, right now
Oh,
she's
yeah.
working for Walker Sands, but she was working for Heron Agency.
Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah. I
loves
would love
it.
to meet her. Yeah, I'd love to
But
meet
yeah,
her when
That's
you're
why
in
I wanted to
town.
make sure I had your last name so I could tell her.
Awesome. Thank you. Oh,
Yeah.
that's so cool. PR's in the family.
It is.
My sons keep telling me, they're like, I'd never do what you do, Mom. You're sitting in front of your computer and you're typing all day. And I'm like, there's so much more to it than that.
Right. Yes, when my daughter was like in kindergarten, the teacher asked, one of those assignments, what does your mom do? And she answered, my mom plays on the computer all day. Like, I wish.
Right. Right. Exactly. That's what I call it. Yeah.
I just tell my kids, even with my switch to being like much more on the data side, I still just tell them I tell stories.
Tell
There you
stories.
go.
Works.
I do.
I like that.
Mhm.
And now I'm a little more focused on what stories the numbers tell me. But my
Yeah.
job is to tell stories.
Still stories. Yeah. I love that, Drew. The simplicity is fantastic.
It's very true.
All right. Well, everyone have a wonderful evening.
You too. Thanks.
Thank you.
You.
Thank you.
Have a good
We'll
night.
see you
Bye.
guys.